At number 1, and this is technically the one game today that's pretty much being made with the use of Unreal Engine 5 since 3 years ago, we believe. Well, we have, for those of you who missed out, something called Vigilance 2099. See, an open world action RPG and mainly a single player game, and about the life of a bounty hunter in this dense cyberpunk city. It's basically Cyberpunk 2077, but as you could see, out of an indie dev and more of a Blade Runner-y thing in terms of premise. Now, check it out. This game's on its way to PCs only, we hear, and due out possibly by the end of 2022.
Welcome to the Abyss. Due to your unfortunate circumstances, you have been incarcerated here, on the Bastard Moon. I recommend making yourself comfortable, as you're going to be here for a very long time.
Coming up behind that, we have, from only hours ago, something called Luna Abyss. Now, this is a narrative-driven action-adventure, which you're gonna see some gameplay of in a second, and a first-person shooter mainly, where you will discover this vast, derelict colony under the depth of a certain moon. The game's description reads, if you do fancy a bullet hell kind of shooter with cosmic horror thrown into the mix, this could be right up your alley. The game's on its way to PCs and the next generation consoles only, and possibly due out mid to late 2023.
To die. Oh, and I almost forgot to introduce myself. My name is Aylin, and I'll be watching you.
We don't have to fight. Can't you see that the Phantom Society is wrong?
But if you're not believing in something to the fullest, are you even really living? So we have to fight.
Moving on, we have by Atlas, once again, actually from a little less than a month ago, a brand new trailer for Soul Hackers 2, which is basically the sequel to Devil Summoner Soul Hackers from almost 30 years ago. In case you are new to, however, this is a Japanese role-playing game at its core, and it is said to be releasing for PCs and all consoles except Switch, August 26 this year.
Thorn in my side.
Every word out of his mouth, every breath he takes is another reason he needs to die.
No matter what miracles you work, no matter how hard you try, I am always one step ahead. You can't stop me. You can't change fate.
Hey boss, time to wake up. We got customers waiting.
At number 4, and this has been on our radar since a little less than a month ago, well, a brand new game by developers of Cloudpunk from a couple of years ago going by Navalis, which is technically just another cyberpunk-inspired restaurant management game, in which the player can grow their business, manage restaurants and nightclubs, starting small and eventually owning the entire city. Navalis here is set to be coming to PCs only, and a release date for it, however, is still yet to be announced.
Water down their drinks. I'm not your conscience. This is a world to explore, to make stories. Your stories. You ever look up at the clouds and wonder what's up there? Well, if you dream big enough, maybe you'll find out. Maybe we all will. Welcome to Nivalis.
At number 5, we have from only hours ago another brand new something called Cyberpunk Detective. Obviously, as you can see, it's the cyberpunk crime fiction game that will allow you to visit this certain city in future and unfold its secrets. There you will play as a private detective. The game's description reads, one of the dying species that still seeks for the truth, justice, and other stuff as well, like money. This is an open world game to some extent in terms of gameplay. It is releasing for PCs only and by the end of 2022. We hear.
So we ran a few tests. DNA, retina scan, fingers, nothing.
Alright guys, a little less than a month ago, I believe, well, once again by 101 Entertainment, and after a couple of months of silence, we got a new trailer for Wanted Dead. Well, Wanted Dead is an action game that basically mixes gunplay and swordplay, like a third-person shooter, but also a hack and slasher at the same time. In terms of story, however, it follows a week of a life of some zombie units and in Hong Kong, but pretty much mainly revolving around, I've been led to believe, revolving around conspiracy theories. Check it out, the game is releasing around holidays this year and for all consoles except Switch.
Mix it with both hands, unless you have only one.
You feel pain?
Do you?
Violent protests continue.
Mistakes are being made. Sometimes it's not up to us.
Latest battle droid. Police.
Sometimes they wake you up, you know? With memories of yesterday.
Stone.
Moving on, we have from earlier this month, with an insane amount of hype by Sega, and actually the same team behind Alien Isolation games, well, something called Hyenas, which is a multiplayer-based science fiction, supposedly first-person shooter, where you technically play the role of some sort of Robin Hood thing. Now here's a trailer. The game's set to be coming to consoles and PCs sometime next year.
I said stop playing with the merch and move.
Can't you see we're busy?
Very busy, darling.
In a world where there are no rules, the only law that matters is a loaded gun.
Go ahead, make my day.
Moving on, we have, once again, X-Killer, or X-A-Killer, which is a retro-futuristic Wild West action adventure. I'm not really sure, but I do know it is coming to PCs and at the moment doesn't have a release date nor a window. Now, there's a Steam page where you can wishlist this game only, and there's word that we'll hear more about this one later in 2022. And in any case, this game was announced a few months ago only, and this is what they came up with.
Your next target, Johnny the Wireman, wanted alive, picked up. Last seen somewhere in Jacobstown area. Bounty hunter, killer.
He's not going anywhere.
Bounty hunting is a hell of a business.
Who are you? I am.
Coming up behind that, we have something called Minds Beneath Us. This is a story-rich science fiction thriller and adventure game, according to its developers, and apparently some sort of futuristic Asian city is where the game is set, in a society that has become fully automated with AI. So pretty much like Cyberpunk 2077. Now here's the thing, this game is sitting on Steam through a demo, so you could get a better idea for yourself. Story-wise, it's about a guy and a data ghost who live in his head and control his body. I don't know. Here's what it's all about. The game is coming to PCs only and possibly early next year.
We got a tough case that needs your help.
At number 10, we have once again Loopmancer, which is basically a mix of Mirror's Edge and Metroidvania-inspired retro classic games where you do play the role of a cyber-enhanced detective on this particular hunt. The good news is you can actually try this game also through a demo on Steam. The full game, however, is scheduled to come out this year and on its way to pretty much every single console too. Check it out, here's even a new trailer.
You've got guts? Stirring up trouble in Kunga industry?
This is a fun game. Let's keep playing.
CYBERPUNK, on the other hand, is, well, first of all, an open-world third-person shooter and an RPG as well, and set in some sort of dark, dangerous city which is dominated by money. And that is technically what the game's description reads here, versus where you play the role of a mercenary who takes a lot of missions, works in secondary jobs, build prestige and unlock upgrades in order to process their story. The game's actually a story-driven one. The story is told throughout missions. We know it's on its way to PCs only, and it's been in the making since last year. Check it out, that's pretty much all there is to it. At number 12, we have probably the most anticipated retro-style platformer to be released next year, something called Replaced. Considering any other in the same vein I've actually come across, considering Sea of Stars even, Replaced is a Microsoft exclusive, and it's pretty much in the same style of the other game called Last Night. Technically what is described as a cinematic action-adventure Metroidvania. Take a look. The game's set to be released early to mid next year and for PCs and Xbox consoles only.
Most of the block's jacked in or too strung out to make trouble. Minor gang activity, some triad, crypto-punks, AI rights activists.
Lo-Fi, on the other hand, is actually available in its early access phase for PC VR, with plans for a full launch into other headsets as well sometime later this year. This game, I believe, is one of the most promising titles due to arrive this year when it comes to virtual reality. Obviously, it's a cyberpunk adventure and also the spiritual successor to Iris VR's Technolost. Check it out just in case you missed it. cyberpunk colony simulator where you take over, manage, and build bases. So here we have, guys, on the other hand, another new IP from a few days ago called Dystopians. Now, as I've mentioned, it's a strategy colony-based building kind of sim at its core. Dystopians is kind of a choice-driven game too, a little bit in the same vein as Game Dick, and all we know right now is that it's a PC exclusive on Steam and releasing early to mid next year. At number 15, we have here literally the oldest game to have been announced in the list, something I'm pretty sure most of you are familiar with already, called Last Night, which I mentioned earlier was first debuted at E3 2017 and through a couple of minutes of gameplay as one of the most visually advanced cyberpunk-inspired pixel-art retro-futuristic games in development. You see, this game has been rumored on and off throughout the years to have been cancelled and back on track. In case you're wondering right now, it is actually in active development and we're only hoping that it'll release around holidays this year. It's also rumored. Flashback 2, for those of you who've been waiting, finally now has a release window, and it is now releasing for PCs in literally all platforms around holidays. Now, for those of you who don't know, the game was announced at the Summer Game Festival earlier this year. This is indeed the sequel to the original 30-year-old cult classic action-adventure game, which is now on its way to pretty much all consoles, PCs, Switch, and now blending puzzle and action and through previous locations and more. Check it out. And last but not least, well, we've got once again the old Bushido or Bushido, technically still targeting PCs and PlayStation 4 and Switch only, and due out by the end of 2022. Now, they even came out with another trailer, gameplay trailer, showcasing a bit of its skill-based system. Just in case you're wondering, specifically for those of you new, this is a retro-style Metroidvania, and pretty much in the same vein as the old Neo Geo's hits about a cybergenetic ninja. Take a look.